Playoff hockey is here, and I think we may just be in store for one of the best round ones ever. We got the Battle of Florida, the Battle of Rantanen, Oilers Kings round 4, Ovi versus Demidov, and the Jets are a wagon. Yes, the Canes Devils and Knights Wild series are kind of whatever, but to top it all off, we're going to get the first Battle of Ontario in 2 decades. Sens Leafs is going to be must-watch television over the next 2 weeks or so. If Toronto wins, they could be in store for a magical run. But if they lose, oh my gosh, if they lose to Ottawa in the first round, they might never live it down. So today, we've got everything you need to know about the Battle of Ontario and about every single playoff matchup. So let's get right to it. Welcome to Top Shelf, brought to you by Skyscanner. I'm Aidan Thakkar with my guys Kyle Cushman, Levi Smith, John Matisz for one final show before the playoffs kick off this weekend. Still hockey to play tonight. None of that hockey will officially matter. It's all about this weekend, and I feel like everybody's eyeballs right now are on Leafs Sens, right? It's just awesome.
It's got to be. I'm so hyped for it. Like, it's been literally 2 decades. It's going to be so much fun.
And I saw the Leafs are actually 4-0 in their series historically against the Ottawa Senators. But then you got the Ottawa Senators have been a better team over the past few years. So I want to preview this matchup, and I want to go through all these matchups today. But we got to start with the big one, with the Battle of Ontario, and we got to break it down. But what do you think is the biggest points in this series you can point to as to what's going to decide it?
Yeah, it's shaping up to be such a fun series just because it's going to take, 3 minutes for these teams to just absolutely hate each other, maybe even less. And so I think everyone's expecting this to be a very physical, nitty-gritty series. And because of that, I look to special teams as a big factor. And I think particularly the Leafs power play, where you look last year and that power play was under 5% in the playoffs, and you're just not going to win series like that. So if the Leafs are able to get that power play clicking, the 5-forward unit has been good this season, especially recently. That's going to be a big factor if the Leafs are going to go ahead and win this series against the Sens. On the Sens side of things, Linus Ullmark has got a lot of praise this season for his play, rightfully so. He's been a little bit shaky in the playoffs. He's 3-6 in his playoff career, has been under a .900 save percentage in each individual series he's played in, and he hasn't played every single series that he's been in. He's been pulled for Jeremy Swayman at times during that stretch. And so when you look at that, he's been great this season, but what are you going to get necessarily in the playoffs? And we just saw last year where the Leafs kicked him out of a series against the Bruins, of course. Swayman had to come in and kind of take that series over. So do you get a regular season Ullmark, or is it a bit of an issue for Ullmark? And then finally, a big X factor for me in this series is Bobby McMann, where the Leafs haven't had necessarily that secondary scoring that we've really wanted to see from Toronto at times. And Bobby McMann has missed the last 2 playoff runs due to injury. And so he's a 20-goal scorer now. He's a big body power forward who skates in a straight line fast and drives the net. That's what you want in a playoff-type guy. And I think when you're talking about tight margins in these Leaf series where they've often lost by 1 or 2 goals in a distance Game 7 series, that's a kind of guy that can make a big enough impact to change the tide in a series. So those are 3 of the big things that I'm watching for in this series.
My mind goes to Brady Tkachuk, both in a negative way and a positive way. In a positive way where it's like, okay, we saw at the Four Nations face-off that this guy can rise to the occasion, that his playing style translates beautifully to these types of situations and environments. Does he drag his team into the fight in a positive way? The negative way is, 1, he's coming off an injury. Okay, what does he look like? And 2, we've seen in the past that emotions maybe get the better of him, and he, takes a stupid penalty or just goes over the top a little bit. But this Senators team really takes their personality from Brady Tkachuk, so it's almost like everything revolves around how his performance goes. So Tkachuk for me is, and maybe even of the entire playoffs, the one guy where I'm like, what will he look like now that the spotlight is on him for the first time in his career?
In my opinion, he could so be the best player in this series. He could be the best player, one of the best forwards in the entire playoffs, just the style of hockey he plays. But he could also Nazem Kadri himself. And
that's a great comparison.
Because there was 3 or 4 years in a row where Kadri got kicked out of the series for something stupid. So I'm really curious to see, because when you compare those 2 teams, I would say the top end forwards would probably go to the Leafs. You could talk about the core four is probably superior to
for sure.
Tkachuk and Stützle and stuff. But the depth is a little bit closer. And then when you're talking about top end defensemen, I think Sanderson's the best defender in the series by and far. It's not close. But the depth, he probably goes to Toronto.
Yeah.
I think you talked about Ullmark. I think the goaltending is going to be a huge difference maker. Like Ken Stolars or Wall, whoever starts.
Two pretty unproven guys in Toronto's
Who would you start in game one, Stolars or Wall?
So I think it has to be Stolars, right? Like, especially he just finished his season off with a shutout. He's looked fantastic. So I would definitely start with him, and then as the series progresses, maybe make some changes. But he's been great.
Yeah.
Doesn't this feel like a classic underdog situation for the Senators, where like they're going to want to be more physical? The way that they're going to win is through goaltending and timely goals. Like Toronto's the more talented team. Toronto's the team that's been, kind of moving towards this moment of finally doing something special in the playoffs, and they changed their sort of style and new coach and better goaltending. Like they're on the up and up, and it's like, can Ottawa get in there and really like get feisty and throw them off their game?
It's a real role reversal of that last Battle of Ontario series we had, where the Leafs were this punchy, hated underdog, and the Senators were the higher seed, expected to go further, and the Leafs just had their number at the time. And recently, it's kind of been that way as well. And so, can it be a flip script for the Senators here? It's going to be a fun series.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go around the horn real quick, get everyone's picks. Kyle, start. We're going this way around.
It doesn't matter. Brady Tkachuk, puck luck, Daffy Duck, Leafs in 7.
All right. Okay.
I like it. I have a little bit more faith in the Leafs. I think they take care of this in 6.
6.
Leafs
Okay.
in 7 for me.
Well, devil's advocate, I'm going with the Senators in 7.
Ooh, he's
Right.
doing
I
it.
want to see
He's
the
doing it.
world burn, man.
I do want to say
It's not impossible.
before. Do you think this would be the worst first round loss for the Leafs out
Yes.
of all
Yeah,
of them?
100%.
I think that has to
Yeah.
be. That
I
has
mean,
to be
Habs
said.
series is worse for me.
Well, it's
Habs
pretty
series
bad.
is worse objectively, probably, considering it was a 3-1 blown lead and all that stuff, and the Habs were had more losses than
The
wins
Leafs are
that
just so much
year.
better this year.
But
though.
the Leafs are so good. They're so experienced. There's no excuses. There's no Carey Price on the other side. It's Linus Ullmark's good. He's a Vezina winner, but he's not Carey Price.
Plus, it's the baggage of it all. Like if anytime they lose now, it's worse than 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
Like,
Just
and
keep
it just
building.
keeps piling up.
And the after effects of losing this series, I think, would be worse. There was no fallout really from losing that Montreal series. Not
Should there have been?
dramatic fallout. Maybe there should have been, because it's been years since then and nothing's changed. But if still nothing's changed and they do it again, 5 years later? Yeah, there will be some fallout, if you ask me. But I'm really curious to see if Sens fans can actually keep Torontonians out of their building. But if you are one of those who wants to go to the nation capital and troll Senators fans, use Skyscanner to get the best travel deals. Links in our bio and description to score those. Moving on to the other series in the Atlantic Division, Tampa versus Florida, Battle of Florida. We've gotten this a few times in years past. I think this might be one of the most even set teams, kind of matchups we'll have between these two teams. John, what's your take on it?
Yeah, well, my mind immediately goes to the Panthers forecheck. It's the best in the business, right? And they've got such a lethal top 9, just such great depth, and each of those players are built for this scenario of really getting in on Tampa's defense and trying to wreak some havoc there. The other thing is Bobrovsky versus Vasilevsky. I mean, you've got two of the best Russian goalies of all time, 2 big game goalies, and Vasilevsky is back doing his thing. He had a couple down years there. This year he was actually, top. He'll probably be a Vezina finalist, if we're being honest. So he's back at the top of his game. And then I go to Brandon Hagel, who was one of the breakout stars at the Four Nations face-off. Finishes he's got one more game, but he's at 90 points. Pretty phenomenal. Very sneaky 90
Crazy.
points.
And
Not
how
a
many
lot of
power
90
play
point
goals?
players.
And I think I don't know, does he have zero
zero
still?
power play
I know
goals.
at one point he had 0.
Which
It's
is crazy.
So this guy is such a pest. He's such a gamer. He's very good defensively. So I wonder what type of impact he has on this series. In concert also with Anthony Cirelli, them together. They're scoring on the penalty kill too, right? So just 2 very underrated players in the context of what Tampa's built, right? A lot of attention on Kucherov, Hedman, Gensel, Vasilevsky. Well, a lot of their I guess DNA at the end of the day is Hagel and Cirelli. So really interesting series, and I love the geographical overlap there. And we spoke about Brady Tkachuk and his health coming into the Ottawa series. Okay, what does Matthew Tkachuk look like? He's been dealing with what's believed to be a more serious injury. I mean, he hasn't played since the Four Nations. What kind of impact does he have?
Yeah, I think the question with Tkachuk is was he ready to go 2 weeks ago, but have they been holding him out for money reasons? Like, or what's his game actually going to look like? Is he going to be ready for 19 minutes on opening night of Game 1? I'm not too sure.
We don't even know if he's going to be in Game 1 yet. We expect it, but we don't know that for certain yet. And looking at this series, like we kind of talked about it, these teams match up so much fun. Like, this is going to be an absolute bloodbath when you look at the history of these two teams, the in-state rivalry, all of it. But I don't think the Lightning have gotten enough love this season for how good they've been. They lead the league in goals, which I don't think a lot of people know, and they're also third in goals against. So it's been a great offensive team and a great defensive team. This is going to be a tough test for the Panthers coming into the series.
Yeah, I would say too, like finally the Leafs win this division, and so they're not playing in that 2-3, and for these to be like, this is the matchup. Like, these teams are so good, and the fact that this is the first round, we haven't really seen any of these teams play. I feel because everyone just would go in and beat the Leafs. So we haven't seen this good of a matchup really in the first round on that side of the Atlantic pretty much ever. So it's just going to be really fun.
All right, round the horn one more time. Levi, kick us off.
I got to go with the defending champs. I think the Cats do this in 7.
Yeah.
Tampa in 6.
I'm Tampa in 6 as well.
I got Cats in 6.
All right, look at that. Split down the middle on that one. I'm really curious to see this one go because I think it's going to be some really, really good.
It's going to be phenomenal.
Well, a few years ago when they faced off, it was like an absolute bloodbath. There were fights and there was,
but it was
high
a short
scores.
series.
And it ended up being a short series, but every game was epic.
Yeah. Next one here is the but winners of the Eastern Conference, the Washington Capitals versus the 91-point wildcard team, the Montreal Canadiens, who limped their way in over the last week and a half. I think my favorite storyline here is Ovi and Demidov because it's
so good.
Like the old Russian versus the young Russian, and Demidov's already shown like in a couple games in Montreal that he's a key player for them. But Levi, what are you looking at in the series?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing that we have to point to here, and Caps fans aren't going to want to hear it, but it's their goaltending. They've really struggled down the stretch. Logan Thompson, he's not going to be back for, we don't know, right?
Yeah, don't know yet.
So
but it looks like it's going to be Lindgren at least to start the series.
Lindgren to start the series, which at one point we were like, oh, that's fine. They have 2 good goalies. Now it's like they have 2 not great goalies. So I think if the Caps want to make a run and they want to get past the Habs who have some elite scores, they really need Lindgren to step up here. So that's my biggest thing. My second thing, I guess you could kind of throw Demidov into this, but it's more so focused around Lane Hudson. But these 2 young, fun rookies, how are these guys going to pan out for the Habs in the playoffs? Because they're going to need both of these guys to be lighting it up if they want a chance to knock off the Caps here. And I'll focus more on Lane Hudson because we have a way bigger sample size. But incredible rookie season, easily going to win the Calder. And can that translate into the postseason? Because it's such a big jump from regular season to postseason for any player who's getting their first taste. He's doing it as a rookie. So I don't know if his game will translate perfectly with how he plays. But that's what it's going to have to take if the Habs want a fighting chance. And the last guy, 2 guys I want to bring up here, Alexi Protas, Connor McMichael. Both of them young, 24 years old, I believe. They've been like those depth pieces that the Caps have had this year that they've relied on. Generally, you look at players like that, and it's older guys like KG veterans and stuff. But it's these 2 young guys. They're getting their second taste of the playoffs. I think they were there last year. Both picked up points, which was good. But it's kind of similar to where I was going with Lane Hudson. Still young guys, and for them to have such integral roles on this Caps team and how successful it's been has been incredible. Does that translate to the postseason? I think I have more faith in those 2 than I do in Hudson, to be honest, because they've been here before at least. But you look at Washington's roster and there isn't any holes, I'd say. Obviously, they're the best team in the East. But there's things that you can point out where like the goaltending, the depth that they have in a playoff setting, do those fall through?
I feel like not a lot of people actually believe in Washington to be the best team in the East. But, I mean, they did have a great regular season. I'm so curious because, like, what could it mean for Ovi's legacy if he has another good run here?
Yeah, and he's so, obviously he breaks the goal record in the regular season this year. In the playoffs, 0.48 goals per game. That's pretty phenomenal because his regular season is 0.6. Like, that's not that big of a difference, especially when things get a little low scoring in the playoffs. So, hey, it's been a fantastic story. Like the Capitals, though, did Ovi peak too early as far as like you're trying to win a cup here? And then another thing that comes to mind in terms of this series is, I'm excited to see Demidov. I'm excited to see Hudson and what they do, but also Slavkovsky. This guy is, the way that he's a power forward, he's kind of built for playoff hockey, at least on paper. Okay, let's see what you got, kid.
All right, I'm going to be honest. I got Washington taking this series in 6 games. What do you guys think?
Ditto for me.
6?
I'm going with the Habs.
I'm
doing it.
Let's go.
I'm doing it.
And you?
Washington 5.
All right.
How many games?
How many games?
I'm gonna go Habs 7.
Habs
Ooh,
7.
nice.
Love the
There you go.
7 there. Okay, let's touch on this last series in the East here pretty quick. I feel like it's probably the least exciting series we got out there. That's the Carolina Hurricanes, the New Jersey Devils. This would be way more fun if Jack Hughes was playing. That's simply put, but he's not playing. That's the reality there, and I feel like the New Jersey Devils have. If they were in the Western Conference, they wouldn't be in the playoffs, and they're the 3rd seed in the Metropolitan. So, just want to put that one out there. Put that one out there. They're not a bad team. They'd be a lot better if they had their best player. Fair enough. But do you think they stand a chance to beat the Canes?
There's always a chance, but it's an uphill battle here for the Devils. Like, the health factor is such a big thing because it's not just Jack Hughes as well. Trying to win a series without your best player, that's going to be tough to begin with. But Dougie Hamilton just came back. What is his game going to be like coming back? Jonas Siegenthaler is still out of the lineup. So when you just look at the Devils and without that big impact player at forward, one of your best defensive defensemen, and you don't really know what Dougie Hamilton's going to be at just coming back right into the playoffs, it's really tough to see them kind of challenging the Canes here. But the Canes goaltending is always a big question mark. They're going to have to prove some things early in the playoffs here just because of all the contenders. They probably have the weakest goaltending on paper, and both goaltenders have struggled in recent games coming in. I think Kochetkov has allowed 3+ in 7 straight games. Anderson has allowed 4+ in 3 straight games, so it's not been a great run for both of them. And then finally, if the Devils are going to make some noise, it's got to be Timo Meier. That is a big X factor here, where he comes in as a 30+ goal scorer in that first playoff series, only has the 2 goals, 4 points in that 11-game playoff run. If the Devils are going to make some noise here, he's got to be the player that steps up and replaces the Jack Hughes offense.
You know what? That stat that just came up there, in 3 of 5 playoff meetings between these two, the winner's gone to the Stanley Cup final.
That's a good track record.
I'm going to go out there and say right now that's a good stat you found there, Levi. It is. But I'm going to go out and say I don't buy either of these teams going to the Cup final.
I don't think so either.
I think the Canes take this one. I think they take it in like 5 games. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I've got Canes in 5.
Yeah, I think Canes in 5 too.
Canes in
Seems
6.
pretty easy.
Canes in 6. A couple Canes in 5s.
Yeah. No
Eastern
Stanley
Conference
Cup.
is done there. I think our majority picks there were Canes, Washington split in Battle of Florida, and
Leafs.
then Leafs 3-1 with me on the other side of that. But let's go over to the Western Conference, and let's start with the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Taking on the St. Louis Blues. And, guys, what do we think about this series?
Yeah, well, I talked about with the Caps, and it kind of makes sense that my first point here is also going to be the goaltending, right? So we're going with Connor Hellebuck. It's funny, he's had such an incredible season, better season than he did last year. Probably first goalie to win back-to-back Vezinas. I don't even know when the last time that's happened.
It might have been Hasek.
Yeah, I think you're right. But with the success he's had this year, it's come with, what's he going to do in the playoffs? So I have faith in him this time around. He's been here enough now where I think he knows what to handle. And they get a little bit friendlier matchup than what they had the Avs last year, got spanked. So they have the Blues this year, which should be better. So I've got faith in Connor Hellebuck, but he does need to step up. Could be a perfect little warm-up series for him, if anything, and have them go on a run. But on the other side, St. Louis, the hottest team in hockey really in the second half of this season. And when you get a battle between the 1 seed, and I'll just call them the 8 because I want to reference when the LA Kings were the 8 seed and won that Stanley Cup back in 2012. They came in firing, knocked off the first seed and went on a crazy run. And the Blues have the blueprint to kind of do that with how hot they've been, with how strong they've matched up with everybody. I do. If I'm a Jets fan, I would be concerned because this isn't just another second wildcard team. This is a very solid team. And the third thing here that I think is very important to note, these teams squared off 4 times this regular season, 0 power play goals. There was one shorthanded goal. Other than that, special teams was a complete non-factor. So if there is going to be a team to take care of this series, I think that's where you're going to have to look. Whose power play is going to step up? Obviously, you'd expect it to be the Jets just because they've had the better power play the whole season. But if the Blues power play gets hot and the Jets goes cold, we could have a completely different series on our hand.
No shade at Scott Arniel here, but I feel like there's a coaching mismatch. underway here. Like
Yeah.
Jim Montgomery is arguably a top 5 coach, I'd say, at least X's and O's. Like, so I wonder how that factors in here, especially when playoffs is all about matchups. Who are you putting out there? What type of style are you playing? And then another thing, not to steal Levi's trivia thunder here, but maybe a little preview of the trivia. So there's 5 players left on the Blues from that cup-winning team. I'll give you the first 4, and the 5th one's a tough one. See, Jordan Binnington, Robert Thomas, Colton Parayko, Braden Shen. Who's the 5th guy?
Ooh, 5th guy on that Blues. Okay, so you said Binnington, Parayko, Shen, and
Thomas?
And Thomas.
is it Justin Falk?
Nope.
Alexei Toropchenko?
Nope. That was a good guess.
Jordan Kyrou, was he there or no?
That's what I thought it was, but he only played in the regular season. I don't quite know why he didn't
Oh.
play in the playoffs. But
Wait, you said Robert Thomas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Shoot, then I definitely...
Oscar Sundqvist.
Oh,
Wow. Oh, yeah, he came back.
He left and came back, so it's a
Yeah,
bit of a trick
yeah.
question. But like,
Good pull.
I was like looking through the roster. I'm like, oh, Sundqvist. I guess we've got 5 guys. So, 6 years is a long time, but it's also a short time. But it's kind of interesting, right? Because we just associate the Blues
They've been there before.
with that cup-winning run. But there's not many guys left, and they didn't trade Chen at the deadline. That was obviously a decision that Doug Armstrong made, and I guess it worked out well, considering, if you're in the playoffs, you hope to have that guy contributing. So, yeah, this is the Blues of old, but not quite.
Yeah, Dylan Holloway is the big thing for me.
Yes.
If he misses most of the series, I don't think the Blues really have a good shot.
Yeah.
So what do you guys got your picks here? I personally think the Jets take this series pretty comfortably. I'm going to say 6 games, though, because I think they'll have a little scare at the end. I think they go like
3-0.
3-1 at least or something like that, and then kind of get like a bad kind of moment in Game 5 or something like that. It goes 6, but then they go and they take it in St. Louis. I'm saying Jets in 6. What do you guys think?
I've got Jets in 6 as well because Nikolai Ehlers and some of that is a bit of a question mark as well. So if the Jets were at full health, a lot shorter series, but there's some question marks there.
I'm going Jets in 5. I think they're gonna set the tone early this place.
Oh, Jets in 6.
Jets in 6? Okay. My other big question is, does Winnipeg actually have an airport? It is a long-standing question, but if I check the Skyscanner app, it appears you can fly there, and you can actually get some pretty good deals on their app to do so. Links in our bio and description to get yourself to the Peg for round 1. Okay. I think this might be the best hockey we see in the first round, or at least people have said it's going to be the best hockey. But Dallas has really been struggling as of late, and Jason Robertson just got hurt, and who knows what's going on with Miro Heiskanen. But let's talk Dallas, Colorado, in what I think could be one of the most interesting series of the first round.
Yeah, things are getting real dicey in Stars land. But let's start with Gabriel Landeskog. What does this guy look like? How effective is he? He's going to be in the playoffs. We haven't seen him in 3 years. Phenomenal story. But, is he a third liner? Is he, his regular self from before, a first line power forward? I guess we'll see. But he's certainly an X factor in this series. Wyatt Johnston, ice in his veins, two-way ability. Last year he had 16 points in 19 playoff games. Kind of flies under the radar league wide, but is starting to move up and up and up the list of best forwards in the league. And especially with the Jason Robertson question mark, how much of this will fall on Wyatt Johnston and Rupe Hintz and, Mikko Rantanen. Dallas has a lot of depth up front and some star power, but you take one puzzle piece out of there and things start to fall apart a little bit. Speaking of which, on the back end, Miro Heiskanen, his health is uncertain for the first round. He's at least going to miss a few games. That's not great, especially when you look at the right side of that blue line. It's like comically bad for a playoff team, if we're being honest. We got Lyubushkin, CC, and who's the third guy missing? Lyubushkin,
Matt Dumba.
Oh
Matt
my gosh,
Dumba.
doesn't it sound like a Leafs right-handed side from
Okay.
like 6 or 7 years
Well,
ago?
two
Like,
of the 3
completely.
were Leafs,
Yeah.
so that'll do it.
So if you had Heiskanen in there, you go, okay, he'll figure it out. He'll settle things down, but you don't, at least to start. So on the left side, Harley and Lindell, perfectly fine left side guys. Harley, an exceptional player, but I'm just worried about the Dallas D handling the speed from the Avs. I mean, you've got Nathan McKinnon coming up against, a Lyubushkin or a CC or a Dumba. You've got Matisz is super fast, Cale Makar. So honestly, that's the headline for me is how does this Dallas blue line handle Colorado speed?
I was thinking that Dallas's path to winning this series is scoring a lot of goals. I don't know if 2-1 games play in their favor unless Jake Ottinger puts on a 2020.
He's capable of it.
He is. I mean, he did it against the Flames in that round 1 series. They lost that series, but he had like 80 saves in Game 7. It was ridiculous. But it's going to be a tough one for Dallas, especially with the injuries they're dealing with.
Yeah, I also will say, like, I think I checked the Stanley Cup odds before this series had been decided. And I think these were 2 of the 3 favorites, which is insane that they have to play in the first round. This should maybe outside of Vegas, like this could be the conference finals easily.
I think this goes to show like just how wide open the Stanley Cup really is this year. If you look at the betting odds, there's like 8 teams that are like sub 1,000, like plus 1,000 basically to win the whole thing. With this series though, as to go with it, I'm going with Colorado in 7. What do you guys think?
Colorado in 5.
Wow. Love it.
I think Colorado gets the best of the Rantanen Bowl. I'm going Colorado in 6.
Avs in 6.
Avs in 6. All right. Okay, and then we're going to just flip the page right over to what I think is probably the least exciting series of the first round, and that's just because I think Vegas is going to deal with Minnesota. Would you agree?
Yeah, pretty much. So first of all, special teams, Vegas' power play 2nd in the league to Winnipeg's. Minnesota's power play 3rd last, certainly the worst in the playoffs. Vegas' slot area, so the way that they won the Cup a few years ago was just packing the middle, insulating the slot with these big bodies on the back end, with, frankly, some pretty big forwards too, and just allowing Aidan Hill to cook on long-range shots. I just think that the way that they've been built is so suited for long playoff runs when you've got a blocking goalie who's massive in Aidan Hill, who can handle those point shots, and you've got a team that has bought into Bruce Cassidy's system so seamlessly, and has sort of the mental makeup and the physical makeup to get it all done. And you're looking at a team that is going to be hard to generate offense against. And then also Matt Boldy is I guess the one wild guy where I'm going, okay, he's a game breaker. 10 game-winning goals this year is second to just Draisaitl and Scheifele. This guy, honestly, similar to Wyatt Johnson in terms of, like, if he was playing in a bigger market, he'd probably be higher up on people's rankings across the league as far as impact forwards. And, we talked about this last show. I feel like Minnesota, when you get past the Kaprizov, Boldy, Faber tier of their roster and sort of the true talent of those players, things really drop off after that. And I guess there's a world where Gustafsson, because he's had a really good season, goes on some crazy run, but that's pretty much the only scenario where I see Minnesota making the series out of this.
In Minnesota's kind of thing, they've dealt with a lot of injuries. They had no Kaprizov or Eriksson Ek for a long part of the season. But I do want to say that going forward, I think Minnesota does have these young pieces coming up that they could transition out of this just 15-year period of just mediocrity, basically, of being stuck in the first and second round kind of thing, because they do have this Zeev Williams coming up and multiple other guys on their back end as well and up front. But I personally think that this is Vegas' series, and they're probably going to win it in 5 games. Your thoughts?
Yeah, probably Vegas in 5.
5.
You want a little quick tidbit before I get my pick? Minnesota's entering with negative goal differential, which you rarely see in the playoffs, and I went through and calculated. The average series, the team with negative going into the playoffs with a negative goal differential has won twice, and the average series length is still 1-4. So this is the easiest 4-1 ever, 5-game series. You're not going to win a playoffs when you don't have more goals than goals allowed. So I'm going Vegas 5.
There you go.
Get out your brooms. It's a sweep for the Vegas.
Right.
I think that's a fair pick. It's so hard to predict a sweep, but because anything can happen. But I do get it, and I don't know if Gustafsson is actually really good enough to fully steal a game like he might have to. Okay, last series before we are done with the round 1, and that's one that got really heated Monday night when Kings went into Edmonton, spanked them 5-0. And the Oilers basically went out trying to hurt the Kings. They had Darnell Nurse get suspended for taking a cheap shot on Quinton Byfield. It got intense, right? Philip Deneau is calling him out in the second intermission, saying they sent their B squad out to hurt him. Corey Perry's all offended after the game about it, being like, "We would never do that." It's like, okay, Corey Perry. And then you got the Oilers social media team calling Deneau a clown on Instagram. They commented that emoji. So it's intense. This is round 4, Kings Oilers. I don't think anybody's ever expected the Kings to beat the Oilers, but if it's gonna ever be the year, might be this one, Kyle.
Yeah, it's the higher seed. It's something where you look at this team, it's a really impressive Kings unit. And I think it starts with Quinton Byfield here if they're going to get things done. And obviously the health factor is a huge question mark right now all of a sudden. But for Byfield, he's been on a great run. The last 30 games, he's been a point-per-game player, 12 goals in that run, plus 19. He's been a stud recently, and that's what they need him to be. Because you look at this Kings team, and obviously compared to the Oilers, the big thing for the big difference maker in these series has been star power. So can you get a star-level performance from a guy like Byfield, who is this 6'5", incredible center-winger hybrid? That's going to be a big factor for me if the Kings are going to get things done here. But I think the biggest factor here is the difference in goaltending. When you look at Stuart Skinner and kind of the shaky season he's had and the fantastic bounce back year that Darcy Kemper has had as probably maybe a Vezina candidate here. Obviously not the Hellebuck tier, but will he be a finalist? I think I'd have him on my ballot right now.
Yeah.
Phenomenal season for Kemper, and that is a huge difference when you look at the strength of goaltending for the Kings here, and a goaltender that has gone deep in the playoffs before, obviously winning a cup, and Darcy Kemper versus Stuart Skinner, who went deep last year, but was very much on and off and has been even more so this season. So that's a key factor that I'm looking for here. And then, of course, Edmonton's blue line is always a factor where Darnell Nurse gets suspended there. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hate in this series just because of how that last game went. But looking at the defense here, no Matisz Ekholm is such a huge factor defensively for the Oilers here. What does Jake Wallman look like in a series like this after you spent a first-round pick on him? Can Evan Bouchard kind of have this standout series that gets people back on kind of his bandwagon after really kind of falling off of him after the last year, despite going all the way to the Stanley Cup final last year? So I look at a bunch of different factors there where it's a series that the Kings are the higher seed, but the Oilers are going to be the favorites. And then you look at the breakdown of the roster, and it's like Kings have the better goaltending, probably have the better defense, have the better depth, but star power wins you series. And so can Leon and Connor go out and do that again against the Kings here that they've shown that they can do in recent years?
So I was digging into this series yesterday on the goaltending note, especially because last 3 years that has been the kryptonite for LA. That's just like, to be fair, it's hard to play goalie against Draisaitl and McDavid. I want to give credit to these guys, but over the last 3 years, they've had 6 goalies play in the playoffs for them. The first series, it was end of prime Johnny Quick mixed with Cal Peterson. Wow. Then it was Phoenix Copley and Jonas Korpisalo, and then it was Cam Talbot and David Riddick. Maybe I have those last two mixed, flip-flopped on the years or something like that, but
not great.
It's not great.
No.
It's not great.
Not a strength.
In my opinion, if Darcy Kemper plays every single game for the Kings in this series and doesn't get pulled, that probably means the Kings are winning this series because if they can make goaltending A+, like those 6 goalies combined, by the way, for like an .870 save percentage over 3 years of playoff rounds. Like that is just, and the Kings took Edmonton to like 6 and 7 games in multiple of these series, right? I think they've been some long series, so it's been close. You get 7 more saves, right? That's all you need, and you win probably the series. So I personally am going to take the Kings in this series, and I'm going to take them to win it in 7 games. John?
I'm Kings in 7 too, and what it comes down to me is Draisaitl, McDavid, ... then some guys. Like that's what the Oilers have become, especially with Ekholm out and Bouchard, like, having a fine season, but not like that season that we saw from him before. The depth didn't work out in terms of the guys acquired in the offseason. I just feel like, especially when you factor in that McDavid and Draisaitl have both been hurt at some points this season, it's like things seem to be just crumbling. So this would be the time that LA finally seals the deal. LA in 7.
Before this season, the only time I thought the Kings would ever beat the Oilers in the playoffs is when Wayne Gretzky was on their team, because that's the only time it's happened. I think it's happening too. I agree with John. We talked about it on our last show. The Oilers' terrible job at giving Draisaitl and McDavid any guys to work with. It's going to show in this series. I've got Kings in 6.
Oof. Kings finally have the home ice advantage. Kings in 7.
All 4 of us
are
on
the Kings bandwagon.
Man, I'm going to be honest. Before we move away from this series and get into I want to do some cup predictions. I think it's like actually crazy. We got 4 Kings series, and then if the Oilers would have a first round exit going into this summer, the summer where they are supposed to extend Connor McDavid, that is not the year you want to give him any sort of doubt towards the future. Is the year when he's getting ready to ink something.
He's gonna stay.
He's probably gonna stay.
Draisaitl signing is basically like okay.
But I'm saying this is the year where you got to at least do something to. Sure. You want to do everything in your power to show Connor that like this is gonna work and we're gonna get there.
Yeah,
if
they
it's
brought
not
Jeff
this
Skinner
year.
in.
They brought Jeff Skinner in, exactly. All right. So I think the only series that we were undecided on or split down the middle was Tampa, Florida, which I'm really surprised we went 4-0 Kings. That's really surprised me. I thought I was going to be like, ooh, Kings 7 kind of thing. No, apparently not. But I want to go around the horn and get our Stanley Cup final predictions, who we think wins it and who we think takes the Conn Smythe. I will start, and I will give you guys mine. I'm going Avalanche over the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games. Conn Smythe winner goes to Nathan McKinnon. John, who you got?
That's believable. I'll go Vegas over Tampa Bay in 6 games. Conn Smythe to Mark Stone. Fantastic playoff player. Depends on if he stays healthy, but Stone's the guy. And with Tampa, I just feel like Kyle kind of touched on it earlier. Like they've been kind of underratedly excellent this year.
Yes.
And the top of their lineup is just so elite that I think once they get past Florida, it'll be kind of sky's the limit
sailing. I'm going 2 teams that are getting the monkey off their back for the first time. I've got the Leafs winning
Let's
over
go.
the Winnipeg Jets
Oh,
in 7.
wow.
All Canadian final.
Battle
Let's
of
go.
a little Canadian matchup. 2 teams that really are trying to break some curses. And I think Willie Nylander's the guy that steps up.
Okay.
He's been
I
scoring.
like that Conn Smythe.
Been scoring like
Kyle's
crazy.
like,
I love
can
that
I
so
change mine
much.
now?
I
I
love
wanna
that
do
so
it.
much. Unfortunately, I'm not going the passion pick on this one. I had Vegas preseason. I haven't seen anything this season to change my mind on that. So I've got Golden Knights over the Panthers again, and I've got Jack Eichel as the Conn Smythe winner. I'm taking that one in 6 games. I just love this Vegas team, and their path as well is the big factor for me, where you look at that really easy first-round matchup leading into a second-round matchup. I like them against either the Kings or the Oilers, and then you're into a conference final against a team that's probably beaten up pretty bad out of that Central Division path. And so I like their path to the conference final, like their path to the Cup final, and then obviously we'll see how things go once we get there. But I just love the way that this team is made up. John, you kind of mentioned Aidan Hill, the blocking goaltender behind this elite big defense, which is made for playoff hockey. And the way that Jack Eichel has leveled up, you have a full season of Tomas Hertl there, Pavel Dorofeyev becoming a 35-goal scorer. I think all the factors are there for Vegas to pick up their second cup.
Okay, so picks are in. We got Leafs, Avs, and a couple Golden Knights boys here.
Yeah,
That's what they call us.
We will be back next week for some more playoff coverage. But before we do that, we got the most important part of the show, and that is the last top shelf trivia of the regular season.
Wow.
Okay.
Levi, the reins are yours, man.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it, Aidan.
Yep.
Last time the chain's going on, and Aidan gets to
Big
wear
draft battle guy.
Big draft battle guy. One more quick update here for all the fans back home.
Just keep in mind a lot of those Kyle check marks. So
Yeah.
Yes, the
Yeah.
classic
Yeah.
dynasty debate.
Yep. Sorry, you still got a goose egg when all 3 of us are here?
Hey, that could all change today.
That could change. That could
change
change.
today.
I could be wearing this all playoffs long. You never know.
Yeah. But no, we got a fun one today. So playoffs starting, obviously, and I don't know about you guys, but every single year I like to fill out my bracket. I'm a big bracket head. March Madness happens, nothing. NHL playoff bracket. So I've got a blank bracket here. There is absolutely no info for you guys to work with. It's going to rely on you to begin to fill it out and understand when this happened and the teams that are here.
So it's kind of like a Wheel of Fortune sort of style. We get a team, and then once we can fill it out, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. But I'm only giving you points for getting a team right.
Okay, if we get one right, do we keep going?
No.
Okay.
No. So you
All
get
right.
one pick at a time.
Boy.
There's 16 points up for grabs here. You got to remember the matchups. We'll start with Kyle to my left, and we'll go around. So, Kyle, this one's almost just a blank shot at any team. Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's take a crazy shot first overall. We'll go 1 seed in the West, San Jose Sharks.
San Jose Sharks. I'll give you points for just saying the Sharks. So
Oh,
you don't
okay,
need
sorry,
to pick the
sorry.
seed.
Oh,
San
I
Jose
see.
Sharks are on the board. San Jose
Gotcha.
Sharks
Oh, wow.
are indeed on the board.
Okay.
All the
And
way
Are
to
they
the-
on the board?
And
or
they're in the
what?
conference finals. That's a great start for Kyle.
Okay. So he
Go to
gets
Aidan.
1 point for that or 3 points?
He just gets
1 point? Okay. I'm just thinking, originally my strategy was the Leafs got the long playoff streak. I'd go with them. But San Jose kind of bleeds over to the start of that. So, right? I'd assume, like, when was the last time San Jose? Well,
Give me
no,
a
they-
Leafs poll.
Keep your thoughts to yourself.
I'm going to go with the Leafs.
Leafs are on the board with
Okay.
1. I like your idea.
Wait,
now that I
Leafs
think
are
about
only
it.
here once? No way.
What?
Yeah,
What are the chances? We can eliminate 1 year from this
Yeah.
discussion.
I think it should be points for how long they went.
Well, it's too late now.
Okay.
They can't be given that one.
We can
Roll.
use that as a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
tiebreaker.
I would never be picking Toronto.
Right, that's true.
Vegas Golden Knights.
Vegas Golden Knights, John. are on the list. They actually they're the loser to the Sharks in that first round.
I think we know what year this is. Then,
Everybody's got some points.
I think so, yeah.
Back to you, Kyle.
In that case, let's go Boston Bruins.
Boston Bruins is correct, and they're in the finals.
Yep.
That certainly helps things out. 2 for Kyle, 1 for the other guys, Aidan.
And I believe then the winner is the St. Louis.
St. Louis Blues. This is the 2019 St. Louis Blues
Okay.
Cup playoff bracket. So you've got the finalists, both of them. You just got to fill out the rest now. We're still missing someone in the conference finals in the East. And then a bunch
missing
of
a handful of teams here. Yeah.
Missing quite a few. Go to John.
New York Rangers.
New York Rangers. Not in the playoffs this
Really?
season.
Whoa!
No
Wow.
playoffs
Big
for the
one.
Rangers.
Yeah, because
Yikes.
this would be the Capo Caco.
Yes.
Yeah, they got that.
Well,
guy.
or
Lafreniere.
Lafreniere.
Drop the
No,
ball.
Laffer
No,
be the next
this
year.
is
2019,
the
right.
Hughes, Kako.
All right, back to Kyle.
I'll stay in the Metro then. I'll say the Carolina Hurricanes.
Carolina
Good pick.
Hurricanes. They're in here, and they were the team that Boston squared up in the conference. I don't remember that series at all. Bruins, Canes for a
I
chance at the
think
cup.
it was short.
Like the Pittsburgh Penguins would have been in the playoffs.
Pittsburgh Penguins would have been in the playoffs just for one round, similar to the Leafs. They're out, but they're in there. So 3-3. And we're still at
Islanders.
1 for John. Islanders is correct. They took out the Pittsburgh Penguins. Nicely done. A couple more teams left. We go back to Kyle in the lead.
Columbus Blue Jackets.
The Jackets is correct, and this is the infamous
Right.
Jackets second round series.
Where they beat. Oh wait.
Oh, here we go.
Slow down. I was about to say something with that would be. No, yeah, this is the year they beat Tampa Bay.
Yes.
Tampa Bay had like the greatest regular season, literally the
Yeah,
greatest regular
yeah.
season of
Yeah.
all time.
Yes.
Until the Bruins
Until the
broke it.
Bruins did it like a couple years
Oh yeah,
ago.
you're right.
But that's correct. So 4-4-2.
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg on the board. First round, lost to the St. Louis Blues. There you go. All right, 4-4-3. Back to Kyle. Nobody's missed. No, John's missed.
John
I
has
missed
one.
one,
Sorry,
yeah.
Insult, salt in the wound there, but back to Kyle.
The Chicago Blackhawks.
Chicago Blackhawks, not here. No
Ooh.
Blackhawks. Doors open for Aidan.
Okay, the 2019 would be Washington Capitals.
Caps are here.
Oh,
Last
that was
team
my
there in the East. Lost to the Hurricanes.
The Western
5.
Conference is a lot trickier. I'm not.
5 for Aidan.
Almost 10:30 starts then.
Let's go with the Anaheim Ducks. I feel like this might have been their last.
Anaheim Ducks are not here.
No.
Back to Kyle.
Nashville Predators.
Preds are here. Preds are here. You're missing two actually series. That's all you got left. 4 teams left. The Preds are here. That's 5 for Kyle, 5 for Aidan, still 3 for John.
Preds are here, and so should Colorado as well.
Colorado is here as
Yeah.
the second wild card team.
Yeah.
Got out of the first round. A little bit shocked. I'll stop myself. We go to John. I'm glad you picked the Avalanche.
Yeah. I
Drawing a blank on Western teams.
As
that
soon
are
as
on
you
the
said
board.
Avs in that round, I knew exactly who it was.
2 teams left.
But I want to see if
Oh,
John can.
LA Kings.
LA Kings. No playoffs for
No?
the Kings. Kyle to tie.
The Calgary Flames.
Ah, the
Flames.
Flames.
The
That was
overall
Cale-
1 seed.
Cale McCarr,
Yeah, the Cale
Cale
McCarr
McCarr,
year.
like debut.
Yeah.
Mike Smith, shocker. It was a nightmare here.
All right, we got 1 pick left. Aiden and Kyle are tied.
So I get it if
John's,
I win here, and I need it. Okay, and it's the second wild card team in 20.
First wild card.
First wild card
First
team.
wild card team.
Lost to the Blues on their way. all the
Lost
way.
to the Blues, but beat the Predators. So double upset, Preds. And that would have been 2019, the Dallas Stars.
Nice.
Ding, ding, ding.
You win.
Bravo.
He's not a head-to-head merchant
Nope,
anymore.
that's it right
Wow.
there.
Done.
There you go.
Very
Yeah.
nicely done. But yeah, it's a fun bracket. I mean, it feels like all the heavy hitters here. Not really anybody missing, except for everyone that John guessed.
I was actually going by.
It wasn't a good performance.
I was
on my
going
part.
through the 2019 draft picks.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
how I was
That's
eliminating teams as best as possible. But I was actually surprised the Flames. I was stuck on the Flames. I was like, wait, did they? Did they not?
I should have listened to your little
forgot.
conversation.
No,
That was the year they
yeah,
took.
so when I saw the Preds go through, I went in my mind to that year the Preds knocked off the Blackhawks.
That's
But my
2018, right?
timeline was wrong on that one because that's the Panarin trade, and obviously he was
those
already
few
in.
Right.
years
Columbus.
right before the COVID bubble is where everything gets a little mushy.
It's like,
It feels like it was 20 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
a bunch of teams.
Like
winning
San
their
Jose going
first-
that deep, it seems like forever ago.
I though have been kind of just having this feeling over the past little while that like this season feels like a significant turning point for the NHL for me. Like with how good Four Nations was, with how good this playoffs is kind of seeming to be, with how good the young crop of players coming in, and then also like the cap going.
So it's the Leafs here?
It's
what you're
definitely
saying?
not the Leafs. If it's the Leafs here, it's just nightmare fuel for me. But
Oh, man.
yeah. We will know though. We will be back next week, and we'll be a couple games in. We'll have a little bit more flavor on this Sens Leafs series. a
I
little bit
think
more
the
than everything
big
else.
question for you though, would you rather a Leafs Cup or Oilers Cup?
Ooh.
I would honestly hope for a league shutdown. I think
Can't
like a game 7. Something happens
Asteroid
that we need
strike.
to
Yeah.
postpone.
Yeah,
Like
fair
that's
enough.
like
Fair
honestly, I'd have to go in hiding for a little bit or just delete social media. I got too many buddies that would just give it to me.
Oh.
But I am excited to see all these kind of series go on, and I'm excited to see
Absolutely.
I'm excited to see what the Senators can do in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think
Yeah.
it'd be fun to have them back in there, and this Battle of Ontario is going to be a lot of fun. And we'll be back here next week and throughout the playoffs to break down all these series as they're going on and all the series to come as well. But for all of us here at The Score and all our friends over at Skyscanner, Levi Smith, Cushman, John Matisz, and myself, we will see you next time.